Strong takes? He's got them.
He's on pace for 50 turnovers in 2 years. I'm not saying Baker's going to be bad. Baker is bad.
He's got questions that really make you think.
How is Jason Garrett still employed at 10:30 a.m. Central Time on 12/24 Christmas Eve?
He doesn't shy away from being bold.
Jameis Winston is everything the NFL Sunday Ticket was credited for.
He's not afraid to speak the truth.
Aaron Rodgers is an MVP. What the hell, is the national media losing their mind?
Now over to Seamun's 11.
For most of you that aren't familiar with the Seamun's 11 show, we do normally talk football. However, football is over, and it's been a couple weeks since we've done a show. I was waiting for this moment to kind of do a show as we're gonna hit the NBA All-Star game at this point. So we're technically half over, I guess, if you want to call it. So yeah, so we're technically, the season's quote unquote half over. This is considered the halfway point, even though we all know it is definitely not the halfway point. But yeah, so I've been waiting a couple weeks to do this show for now. Yeah, we're just kind of going to go over everything. So if you like the NBA, I've got some takes that I want to hear from you. So we're going to discuss kind of the first half. We're going to discuss my midseason awards here. So I'd love to hear your midseason awards as well in chat. I've got 3 surprising teams, 3 surprising players, 3 disappointing teams, and 3 disappointing players for the first half of the NBA season. But I mean, we could just start with a little bit of a recap. If you do like, if you do like the NBA, just kind of love to hear your, what's going on here? Love to hear your thoughts on kind of what's going on, what you think that way here. But until then, I could kind of go over my thoughts as well. The, excuse me. There we go. There we go. So it's kind of weird. I've actually never gone straight from a game over to this as well. But yeah, the DayZ is done for the day. So if you were here for DayZ, thanks for stopping by. But yeah, I mean, the NBA season so far has been kind of wild, right? It's been absolutely wild. Again, we'll get into the surprising, disappointing teams as well. But everybody thought the Bucks were going to be good, right? The Bucks ended up, I think, after everything happened in the offseason, the Bucks were the second best title odds behind the Lakers. At the halfway point, Lakers are favorites to win the title. Bucks are second favorites to win the title. So nothing's really changed in the first half that way as far as Vegas goes. But I mean, nobody expected the Bucks to come out and be 46-8. The Bucks are on pace. The Bucks are on pace to win 70 games and be only the 3rd team in NBA history, I believe, to win 70 games with the Warriors and the Bulls. The Bucks also have an absolutely ridiculous plus 12.1 point differential. 12.1. We are 54 games into the season, and the Bucks not only are 46-8, their average point differential is 12. So not only that, they are just absolutely steamrolling teams. It's not just the Bucks winning a lot of games. They are just crushing teams. In relation, the second highest point differential in the NBA, the Los Angeles Lakers, who are 4.5 games behind the Bucks for the number 1 overall seed and hosting the NBA Finals if they were to meet, is 7.4. That means the Bucks are 4.7 points per game better. The Bucks average beating their opponents by basically 5 points per game more than the second place Los Angeles Lakers. It's absolutely crazy. It is absolutely crazy what they're doing. The Lakers have hit their stride with Anthony Davis, with Dwight Howard. Rondo's not really playing a ton. Kuzma, there were all the trade rumors with Kuzma, so the Lakers were kind of in a mess for a couple weeks up to the deadline. Obviously, Kuzma didn't go anywhere, but that combination of LeBron James and Anthony Davis is working, and I think it has to do with the fact that Anthony Davis is an absolute monster on the defensive end this year as well, so that kind of helps. Takes a little bit of pressure off LeBron, who's always been a pretty good defender. Yeah, he's always been a pretty good defender. But as far as the East and West goes, it is pretty even. When you take a look at the top teams, when you take a look at those top like 6 teams, so the teams you think have a chance, right? You normally look at the top 5, 4 to 6, I guess, depending on who you are, right? I tend to look at the top 6 to have a chance. I mean, this year I think there's really only, I think it's going to be Lakers or Clippers. Sorry, Nuggets fans. Yep, sorry, Nuggets fans, but I think it's going to be Lakers or Clippers. But yeah, I mean, you look at the Lakers, the Nuggets, the Clippers, the Jazz, the Rockets. Those top 5 teams all have 34 wins, right? You go up to the East and you're looking at the Bucks, the Raptors, the Celtics, the Heat, the Sixers. Every one of them has 34 wins. So with that being said, I mean the top 5, actually the top 6. I mean, you got the Pacers with 32 wins, 32 and 23, and Oklahoma City 33 and 22. So I mean, if you take a look at the top 6 teams in each conference, they're basically about even, right? They are basically about even. So with that, you kind of look, is there an East Coast, West Coast bias? It's been known for, about a decade now, right? That the West is always better than the East. About a decade that the West is better than the East. I don't think it's that way anymore. I think it's even. Even with LeBron going west, even with Kawhi going west, it seems to be pretty even across the board until you get down to those bad teams, right? The East has a ton more bad teams. If you get off the playoff picture, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams with 20 wins or less in the East. You only got 2 in the West. So the East is top heavy, but the top half of the East is just as good as the top half of the West. How the Bucks aren't the title favorites are kind of crazy to me, but again, they don't have LeBron James. So, of course, Vegas is going to have any LeBron James team as a title favorite, especially when their first place in their conference is close. Oh, you want to say something, Kiki? She's like licking the mic right now. She's like, hey, let me talk. I know my basketball. She does watch a lot of basketball, chat. She does watch a lot of basketball. That's for sure. But, yeah. So we, so the top half of the East, top half of the West is pretty similar. So let's it's kind of a rundown of basketball, kind of my thoughts on the basketball there. I mean, I really think there's only 3 title contenders at this point. I think it's the Bucks, the Lakers, and the Clippers. Again, sorry Denver Nuggets fans. But yeah, Bucks, Lakers, Clippers are probably my 3 title favorites. I mean, if you want to throw in teams like the Rockets, the Jazz, the Nuggets, the Raptors, the Celtics, the Heat, the Sixers, nobody's going to say anything about it. I just don't think it's as wide open as a lot of people think. I don't foresee Philly, who's 9-19 on the road. I don't foresee them winning a 7-game series against Miami, Boston, Toronto, or Milwaukee, right? Let alone winning back-to-back-to-back series where they might have to play on the road each time. They could catch Miami. They're only a game and a half behind Miami. But, I mean, they're 6 games behind Toronto for that 2 seed right now. So 6 games when there's only about 28 to play, that's a lot. That is a lot. But, yeah, the Sixers are 25-2 at home and 9-19 on the road. So is that really a title contender? I tend not to think so. I tend to discount the Sixers because of that. I know a lot of people do like the Sixers, but yeah, I mean, until they win road games, right? I mean, when you got the Bucks sitting 21-5 at the road, you've got Toronto sitting 19-8. Boston's even 15-11 on the road. I mean, hell, even Indy's 13-13 in the East, right? I mean, those type of teams, I don't trust Indy more than Philly, don't get me wrong. But I think at this point, I'm pretty sure I trust the Bucks, the Raptors, and the Celtics more than I trust the Sixers. I don't know about the Heat yet. We'll see how Andre works out. Jay Crowder is a ridiculously good pickup for them at the deadline as well. It kind of came in with the Andre Iguodala signing. Not a lot of people talked about that. About the Jay Crowder. But Jay Crowder is the perfect person you want against the Bucks, right? So ultimately in the East, everybody wants to beat the Bucks. The Bucks are the class of the East. The Bucks are the class of the NBA. So it looks like the Heat went out and they got Andre Iguodala to guard Giannis, and Andre Iguodala to guard Ben Simmons, Andre Iguodala to guard Jason Tatum. He's not going to play a ton of minutes for Miami. Don't kid yourself, Miami Heat fans. He's going to play 15, 20 minutes for you. He's 36 and hasn't played in forever. But then Jay Crowder is the perfect fit to go against the Bucks too, because the Bucks defense is precedented on giving up open threes. They're going to stop the 2 and they're going to give up open threes. Well, Jay Crowder will hit those threes. Jay Crowder will also play decently tough defense on a guy like Chris Middleton, a guy like Wes Matthews. So, I mean, is Jay Crowder the answer? No. But Jay Crowder isn't going to hurt their chances, basically. So I think the Jay Crowder thing with Iguodala was a big pickup. Nobody really did anything. I don't know what the hell is going on. Yo, T-Cat, what's going on? I don't know what the hell's going on with the 76ers at this point. I mean, they signed Al Horford to a major contract, right? They pay big money to get Al Horford in there. They pay big money to keep Tobias Harris. And then they bench Al Horford. I don't know what's going on. I have no idea. Simmons still won't shoot the ball. Embiid just is a bigger talker than he is a better talker than he is a player. Don't get me wrong, Embiid's a great player, but he writes his mouth writes a lot of checks that his booty can't cash, to be completely honest with you. So I don't really, the Sixers I don't really see as a favorite at all. But yeah, I mean, we'll get into a couple of these teams. With the surprising and disappointing teams as they're in there. And then as far as the West goes, I mean, the Clippers are struggling, but at the same point, they've got chemistry that they got to work out. It's really no different than, the Miami Heat, right? When the Miami Heat Big Three formed, they struggled a little bit, and then they just went on to go to the NBA championship every single year. However, what that Miami Heat team doesn't have is the Lakers team that has Anthony Davis and LeBron James. But in this mix somehow is Denver again. Denver's always there. Denver can shoot lights out. Denver can absolutely shoot lights out, and that's what keeps them in a lot of games. Not to mention they have Jokic, who I'm a big fan of Jokic. I mean, a big guy that can pass like that. I mean, I'll take him on my team any single day of the week. But in the West, I mean, you do have the Lakers and Clippers. The Jazz, I don't know. I don't trust the Jazz because I don't trust Mike Conley, right? I don't trust Mike Conley as far as I could throw Mike Conley. If you guys have ever seen me, you're looking at me right now. I'm not that muscular of a dude. I'm not that in shape of a dude. I can't throw Mike Conley very far. So we're just going to leave it at that. So yeah, I think it comes down to a two-horse race in the West with the Lakers and the Clippers. Maybe it matters who gets home court. That's a joke, chat. Chat, it's a joke. It's a joke. I hope you got it. It's a joke because they share the same home court, chat. Oh, my goodness, chat. The only difference would be, the season ticket holders. If it's a Clippers home game, the Clippers season ticket holders get in. If it's a Lakers home game, the Lakers. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty good joke, chat. I thought it was a pretty good joke. I don't know. I'm laughing. But no, I think there's not as many title contenders as I think people believe there are. Yeah, I don't really think in Houston, I see people talking about how Houston Rockets and my boy Legs. I love my boy Legs. He's in here a little bit. And he's in here every now and again, and he's a big Rockets fan. If you follow me on Twitter, we go back and forth about it as well. He's a Houston sports fan unfortunately for him with the Astros and all that, but man, how the hell are the Rockets going to win a championship without starting anyone over 6'7"? I know they won that first game at LA. Crazy, right? Can't believe LA lost that game. In the long run, though, how are you going to win a 7-game series when PJ Tucker is playing center for you, right? And I know there's a reverse of that. Like, how is the other team going to guard PJ Tucker at the three-point line? Well, that's where teams like the Bucks will come into play. That actually works into the Bucks because guess what? They'll just freaking start Giannis at center, right? They'll start Giannis at center. So, I mean, that doesn't really... I mean, they could play Bledsoe. They could play Hill, Middleton, Wes Matthews, and Giannis at that point, right? At center. So, a Rockets-Bucks NBA championship, as a Bucks fan myself, would be absolutely perfect. That would be the dream matchup. I mean, yeah, Brook Lopez and Robin Lopez would kind of be taken out of the game a little bit, but at the same point, if you do want to play Brook Lopez, oh my goodness, the way he could bang in that would be it'd be a perfect matchup for the Bucks against the Rockets. The Thunder are a nice little story. The Mavericks are a nice little story. Neither of them, I believe, are title contenders. Again, I know I mentioned the Jazz. I can't trust Mike Conley. And then the Nuggets. I don't know. Like, I am a big Nuggets fan. I love the way their starting five is. Not a big fan of the Nuggets bench. Not a big fan of the bench, but, I mean, they're there. They're the 2 seed, right? You get that 2 seed, anything can happen. So the Clippers are... Here's the thing with the Clippers that's the problem. Is a lot of people in the NBA... A lot of people in the NBA don't believe the regular season matters. They only care about the playoffs. To me, there is a big difference for the Clippers hosting a 7-game series in the Western Conference semis against Denver and having to play in Denver. The Clippers are 15-13 on the road and 22-5. We're deep enough in the season. I mean, we're 55 to 60 games into the season. We've got a pretty good sample size of this, right? So a lot of teams struggle on the road. I mean, there's those outliers like the Mavericks, the Bucks, the Lakers, the Nuggets that just win on the road, right? But it's a major difference, and this is why the regular season matters. Is hosting instead of going on the road, I think, is very big, especially in a 13-game series, right? Or 13-game series, especially in a 7-game series, and potentially having to do that 3 in a row. And that's where Houston finds itself as well. Houston's only 2 games out of the 4th spot, but Houston struggles on the road. They're a very good home team as well, as most NBA teams are. Houston, much like Philadelphia, might have to go on the road for the opening round at Utah. You win that game against Utah, what do you get? A date with the Lakers on the road. You win that game, you somehow win that series, what do you get? Nuggets or Clippers on the road. There's no way Houston survives 3 straight series without hosting. They're just not good enough on the road. Yeah, they're just not good enough on the road. So again, I think it comes down to Bucks, Celtics, Lakers, Clippers as your 4 title contenders. I'm not sold on Toronto. I know Toronto's going crazy. I'm just, in a 7-game series, I'll take Boston no matter where it is. In a 7-game series, I'll take Boston no matter where it is. Maybe it's because I'm not sold on Siakam yet. Siakam's a hell of a player, chat. Siakam is an absolutely hell of a player. But I don't know, for whatever reason, I'm just not fully sold on him. All right, chat, let's see here. What do we want to start with? Do we want to start with the good news or the bad news, chat? I always forget. I always forget what the old adage is, if people want the good news or the bad news first. I'm not sure, but why don't we start with the bad news first, chat? Let's start with the bad news. Oh, boy. Well, that was the wrong thing. All right, let's start with the bad news here. My top 3 most disappointing teams and top 3 most disappointing players for the first quote-unquote half of the season. We have to start with the Philadelphia 76ers. I know I talked a little bit about them, right? I did talk a little bit about them. They're 34-21. And that's not terrible, right? That's not terrible. But the problem is this team was projected to be 2nd in the East. And at one point, they were favored over the Bucks as title contenders. And I mentioned it before as well. They're 9-19 on the road. They are 9-19 on the road. Now, I get it. Not every team's going to be good on the road, right? Not every team's going to be good on the road, and that happens, right? Again, we already discussed there's a few outliers that are pretty good on the road. But they're 25-2 at home. 25-2, and that is easily the best record in the NBA. The Bucks are 25-3, and the Heat are 22-3, close behind them. But 25-2. Embiid has barely. Embiid's always hurt, right? He loves to talk. He just loves to run his mouth, right? Embiid always loves to run his mouth. He's only played 39 games out of their 55. And that's pretty usual for him, right? He's always hurt. Embiid is always hurt. And when he's hurt, he'll run his mouth on social media and in the media. Horford has been an absolutely atrocious addition. Horford's played 50 games, so he's played a lot of games, right? He has played a lot of games. He started all but 1 games where he apparently got benched last week for absolutely no reason. He's averaging 12 points, 6.7 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, a block, and his PER is only 15.24. They signed him to big money. You can't have that. It doesn't work. The fit with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons and Horford, it just doesn't work. Yeah, it just doesn't work. They're 23rd in the NBA in points per game, and they're middle of the pack in point differential at 2.4. at 2.4. There's 7 teams in the West better than them at 2.4, and there's 4 teams. There's 11 teams, so they're 12th in the NBA, so basically middle of the pack in point differential. For a team that was supposed to be title contenders, for a guy like Embiid who said they were going to win the title, again, what do you want him to say? We're not going to win the title? I get it, right? I get it. Everybody understands it. But to be in the 5 seed, have that bad of a road record, and potentially have to go 3 on the road, they're my number 1 most disappointing team in the NBA this year. Number 2. This may come as a surprise to some of you. This may come as a surprise because, well, I mean, they haven't really been good in a while, but the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Minnesota Timberwolves are 16-37. Their star player went almost 2 full months without winning a basketball game he was on the court for. And that's when he was on the court. There was like another, 3 weeks where he wasn't even on the court. They lost, I believe it was 16 in a row at one point. They're 1-9 in their last 10. They did get that one victory somehow. And they're already in the lottery. They are 12 and a half. They're 11 and a half games out with about 28 to go. They're in the lottery. And on top of that, they actually have the fourth worst record in the NBA. Only the Golden State, who was decimated by injuries, at 12 wins. The Cavaliers, who have a college coach who doesn't know how to coach in the NBA, at 14 wins. And somehow, what a lot of people don't understand, chat, we have an all-star game starter in Trae Young, whose team is 15-41. Let that sink in, chat. There is a player in the all-star game starting, and this is why you don't let fans take control of shit. Because the fans don't NBA fans are dumb. All sports fans are kind of dumb at this point because they always vote for their favorite players and stuff like that, and it doesn't really matter. Like, what was it? Last year, LeBron James got voted in as a captain, and he played like 20 games. It just is what it is, but we have an all-star game starter whose team is 15-41. I'm sorry, but if you're an all-star and you can't get your team more than 15 wins, how good are you really? Like, how good is Trae Young really? Not to mention he's got John Collins with him on top of it. Well, John Collins was suspended for a little bit as well. But anyways, I digress. This is about the Hawks. We all knew they were going to be terrible. Hell, even the New York Knicks have more wins than the Minnesota Timberwolves at this point. But every year, it's the same thing. Every year, every expert is like, this is the year for Minnesota. This is the year that Wiggins is going to put it together. This is the year that Karl-Anthony Towns is going to step up and be the leader. They got Covington this year. They've got this. They've got this. They've got this. They've got this. It's the same old story. The Minnesota Timberwolves are terrible. It starts with Wiggins, who obviously they do no longer have anymore, but that's very recent with him on Golden State. Wiggins not being that great of a player. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, Karl-Anthony Towns isn't really all he's cracked up to be either. Karl-Anthony Towns puts up stats. He's Trae Young. He's Devin Booker. These guys aren't great basketball players. They score, so everybody thinks they're great. But when you're so bad on the defensive end, you don't even help your team, how good are you really? And in Minnesota, it's obviously time to go along with that. Wiggins and Cat are supremely overpaid, right? They're both supremely overhyped. Cat went 2 months without winning a game when he was on the court, right? Now we'll see what happens with Russell. It isn't really changing too much. They did get that one win, so I guess if trading Wiggins for Russell, it resulted in one win in 10, like, okay, cool, so they got the one win, but what is it going to actually do for their franchise? It starts with Cat. In my opinion, it starts with Cat. He may be one of the best human beings out there. I don't really know him as a person. But, yeah, it starts with him not being really that good, and he needs to be like a third option on a team, not a 1, not even a 2. He needs to be like a third option. I think this team needs to find a trade partner for Cat. I think they'll get a lot because for whatever reason, the NBA loves Karl-Anthony Towns, again, because the NBA loves points. But, yeah, they hit the restart. But the only problem with the Wiggins and D'Angelo Russell trade is they make damn near about the same money. They're each max players, so they didn't really save anything that way, but I believe they got the better player. I believe they got the better player there. So Minnesota is my second most disappointing team in the NBA. And again, that's not from me. I thought they were going to be terrible. I think they're going to continue to be terrible until Karl-Anthony Towns has got a massive more help. But as far as experts, right? These are all expert picks. The third and final most disappointing team I have, the Portland Trailblazers. Last year's Western Conference runners-up is struggling hard out of the gates here. They're 25-31. Yeah, that's not the worst record in the NBA, right? Right? But these are somebody that were projected to be top 3 or 4 seed in the West. Definitely top 5 in the West. They currently sit 4 games behind Memphis. That's the problem, right? There's a lot of basketball to be played. I mean, we're still talking like mid to upper, right? We're talking mid to upper 40s or mid to upper 20s. So there's a lot of games, but 4 games back, the way Memphis is playing, and they're definitely not going to catch Dallas or Oklahoma City at 8.5 back. So their chance is literally the 8 seed or miss the playoffs. CJ McCollum is an absolute no-show. This guy was one of the most hyped up guys in the NBA as well, right? One of the most hyped up guys in the NBA. I happen to think he's one of the most overrated players in the NBA. But this guy has done absolutely nothing this year. Again, he does score a little points, right? He does score a little bit of points. And that's why people like him. However, he plays no defense, and his shooting actually isn't that great this year. He's shooting under 38% from 3, and his PER is about 16. Not even top 50. Not even top. I mean, he's not even a top 50 player in the NBA, right? And people crack him up to be like Lillard's right. Lillard's everything you want, right? They did get Whiteside from Miami, who basically lost out in Miami. He wasn't even playing anymore at that point. And he's actually been a really, really good addition to this team. Especially with the injuries that they have dealt with Collins and Nurkic. But I don't know where this team gets points from. I mean, the team averages 113 points a game, and you're like, holy shit, that's a lot of points. That's middle of the pack in the NBA. I don't know where this team gets points from outside of Damian Lillard. The problem is Whiteside's a defensive force. He's not an offensive guy. I mean, he actually is scoring a decent amount of points this year, but I just don't know where the points come from to even get them in the playoffs over Memphis. And if they do, not only that, but I mean, you've got the Pelicans, who are only a game and a half behind them, and the Spurs only a game behind them. And the Pelicans are coming fast now that they've got Zion, right? So the top 3 most disappointing teams, Philly, Minnesota, Portland. We'll move on to top 3 most disappointing players this year. I'm going to start with my number 1, and we mentioned him before as well, Mike Conley. Mike Conley, coming over from Memphis to Utah, is averaging 13.5, 3.2, and 4.2. He's averaging less than a steal per game, and he's only shooting 39.2% from the field. Every one of those categories is either the lowest it's ever been in his career or the lowest it's been in 8 years, Chad. He was supposed to be the Jazz's missing piece, right? Mike Conley. I love Mike Conley, right? I just don't trust him this year. I don't trust him this year, but think about that. 13, 3, 4, less than a steal, and shooting 39.2%. Not from 3, from the field. He is shooting respectable about 36% from 3, though. I mean, that is true. All career lows or lowest in 8 years. Mike Conley, again, was supposed to be that guy. He was supposed to be that guy that comes over, gets Utah over the top. Utah is 4th in the West, right? And Utah is, the crazy part is, with Mike Conley being one of the most disappointing players in the NBA this year, I have him listed number 1 on my most disappointing, obviously. Utah's still the 4 seed. They're 36-18. They're 20-5 at home. They have a winning record on the road. They're only a game and a half behind Denver for the 2 seed, even with Mike Conley. Imagine if Mike Conley put it together, Chad. Imagine if he wasn't disappointing and he was just like a mediocre player. Imagine if he was CJ McCollum. That's just like a below average player. But, I mean, this Utah team could be dangerous if Mike Conley ever turns it on. My number 2 most disappointing player in the NBA so far this year through the quote-unquote first half. I'm going to keep calling it the first half, Chad, even though we know it's about 10 games past the first half, but it's the All-Star break. Malcolm Brogdon. Last year, Malcolm Brogdon, with the Milwaukee Bucks, played about 30 minutes, right? We're ready. I mean, he played a role, right? He played a role. And all offseason, First of all, Indy went out there and they gave up a first-round pick to acquire this guy. I mean, again, they're going to make the playoffs, right? So we know it's going to be, roughly a low to mid-20s. But they gave him a first-round pick. Then they went out and paid him a ton of money. And then all we heard is, Malcolm Brogdon, the Bucks didn't value me. The Bucks didn't want me as much. Well, no shit, the Bucks didn't want you as much. He's a good, solid player. He's 58th in the NBA in scoring with 16.6 points. His PER is 66th in the NBA at 18. In the month of February, in 7 games to where he's averaging 33 minutes per game, he's shooting 41% from the field, 25% from three. He's averaging 14 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, no steals. He does not have a single steal, and he's averaging 3 turnovers a game. For somebody that garnered a first-round pick and a major payday, Malcolm Brogdon has been underwhelmingly disappointed. And, of course, he's been hurt again this year, like every year. If you followed him in Milwaukee, he's always hurt. For the last year, he was a 50-40-90 guy. Super rare company. This year, 43.8, 32% from 3, 90% from the free throw line. So he's 7% or 6% lower on the field goal percentage and 7.6% on three-point percentage this year. He's averaging 16-4. He's averaging 16-4 and 7. And he's paid like a borderline all-star. He's been hurt. He's only played in 41, well, with the Bucks game, sorry. I think he's played in 43 games now. He's played in 43 games. And the Pacers are also a disappointing 6 seed when I myself had them as high as the 3 or 4 seed. I thought they would be the 3 seed behind the Bucks and the Sixers. I thought they'd be better than the Celtics, but you could put them in that 3 or 4 range. So Malcolm Brogdon is my second most disappointing player in the NBA this season. My third and final, this one's probably going to get a lot of people going, huh? Simons, you're absolutely crazy. Get the hell out of here. Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is my third most disappointing player of the NBA season. Every year, all offseason, we heard about Ben Simmons is going to shoot. Ben Simmons is working on his jumper. Ben Simmons is going to take that next step. You know what Ben Simmons hasn't done this year and come anywhere close to doing this year? Taking that next step. You know what Ben Simmons is? Ben Simmons is the same Ben Simmons that he was last year and the year before that. Don't know what I mean? Let's take a look. 2017-18, he averaged 16 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. Pretty damn good. 2018-19, 17 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, 7 points, well, basically 8 assists. Same exact numbers. 2019-20, when he was supposed to take this big step from all of this, 16.9 points per game, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. He is literally no different. His shooting percentages, 54, 56, 58. Same thing. His free throw percentage, 56, 60, 61. Roughly the same. Everything is the same. He's not getting better. Everything is consistently staying the same. Even the turnovers, 3.4, 3.5, 3.6. These are all comparing 3 years. That is a very, very big. And here we go, 2017-18, 81 out of 81 games. Or 81 out of 82. 2018-19, 79 out of 82. And this year he's played in all but, I think, 2 games. So he's playing in every game, right? And he's playing minutes. He's averaging 36 minutes this year. It was 34 last year. It was 34 the year before. So the minutes have gone up about 2. But the points aren't going up. The rebounds aren't going up. The assists aren't going up. Shooting percentage went up barely. Free throw percentage didn't go up. He's still not shooting the ball. He's also sitting, everybody talks like Ben Simmons, like he's this superstar, right? I actually don't mind Ben Simmons, but again, he's a third option on a team. He's not supposed to be a second. Him and Embiid just don't really work together. I'm a big analytics guy, so I like the PER ratings, both defensive and overall, and offensive, obviously. He's sitting 33rd in the NBA in per. 57th in points, 24th in rebounds, and he's sitting 5th in assists. For a guy that we keep hearing every offseason is getting better, is working on this, he isn't getting any better. However, he is a really good defender. He's 12th in the NBA in defensive efficiency. So he is a very, very good defender. So that's why you figure his per would be higher. All right, a little bit of a rundown. 3 most disappointing teams. Philly, Minnesota, Portland. 3 most disappointing players. Mike Conley, Malcolm Brogdon, Ben Simmons. Enough with the bad news, chat. Enough with the bad news. Let's get on to the good news. And if you guys have anything to add in chat, if you guys got a disappointing team, disappointing player, feel free, put that in chat. Let's have a conversation about it. This show's meant to be as interactive as possible. I could sit here and talk to you guys for, an hour and a half, but if you guys want to interact, feel free. If you've got anything to say, if you think I'm crazy for saying Ben Simmons is a disappointing player or Brogdon's a disappointing player, I'm really not going to give you any argument on Mike Conley. He's been a colossal disappointment. But if you got anything about, maybe you've got a bigger disappointing team or anything like that, just let me know. Again, it's not overrated players. It's not overrated. It's just kind of disappointing, right? Because the most overrated player in the NBA to me is Devin Booker. Guy plays no defense. He scores a lot of points, and everyone thinks he's this God's gift to earth. God's gift to earth. The dude's he's 167th in defensive efficiency. Think about that. He's behind Duncan Robinson in defensive efficiency. Devin Booker is easily the most overrated player in the NBA, but he scores a lot of points, so people love him. Yeah, he scores a lot of points, so people love him. Yeah, so Devin Booker goes out there and scores 27 a game, and then guards the team's worst defensive, or the other team's worst offensive player, and still gives up 25 to that guy. I don't know. Devin Booker does nothing to help his team win. He scores, so people love him, because people love points, chat. People love points. All right, top 3 most surprising teams. Number 1, I think, is super easy. Number 1 is absolutely beyond easy, and it's going to be the Toronto Raptors. They have a better record through 55 games than last year when they had Kawhi Leonard, and they even have a rash of injuries this year. Siakam, Lowry, Ibaka, and Gasol have all played 45 games or less, so they've all missed 10 or more games, so about 20% of the season, roughly about 16% of the season. At one point, I'm pretty sure they had 1 billion straight wins. Yes, you heard that right. 1 billion straight wins at one point. They also have the 4th best point differential in the NBA, only behind the Bucks, the Lakers, and the Celtics. They win on the road, they're 19-8, and they win at home, they're 21-7. That's what you need for postseason success again, right? That's what you need for postseason success, the ability to win on the road. The Toronto Raptors, I think, are hands down easily the most surprising team in the NBA. The second most surprising team in the NBA, I think, is also pretty easy. No one really saw it coming. The Oklahoma City Thunder. No, trade away Paul George. Trade away Russell Westbrook. Everybody counted him out. CP3 said, nope, not doing it. Not doing it. We got this. And CP3 is having a monster year. Alexander is coming into his own as well, averaging 19, 6, and 3 with a 17 per. He's actually not that far behind Ben Simmons in player efficiency rating either. So that tells you another thing about Ben Simmons. The best part about the Oklahoma City Thunder, they have 4 players on their team averaging 17 or more points per game. And that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy to have that much team, I guess, is kind of what it is, right? That much team. You got Alexander at 19.5, Gallinari at 19.3, Dennis Schroeder at 19.3, Chris Paul at 17.4, and then you have Adams averaging 10.7 as well. I mean, this team just, everybody's per is off the chart. And like I said, Chris Paul, 17.4, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 1.5 steals per game. A 21.65 per. Like, Chris Paul's balling out this year. Absolutely balling out this year. So the Oklahoma City are my second most surprising team. Now, third is where it gets a little tricky, right? Third is where you can get numerous different things. So third, I actually have the Dallas Mavericks at third. I would accept the Miami Heat. I would accept the Memphis Grizzlies. I would accept... I wouldn't accept the Utah Jazz. In here, excuse me. In here, I would accept the Mavericks, the Grizzlies, or the Heat for number 3. I went Mavs. They're 6th in the West. They're 33 and 22 overall. Porzingis has only played in 37 games. But he's averaging 17 and 9 as a number 2. 17 and 9 is pretty damn good. Luka has missed a bunch of games in there as well. And that's the thing. When you have 2 stars, right? You have 2 stars. Porzingis. You've played 55 games. Porzingis has only played in 42 of those. I'm sorry. I think I said 37. He's played in 42. My apologies. And then you've got Luka Doncic only playing in 44. So each one of those guys has missed 10 games. But Luka has the second highest per in the NBA. He's averaging 29, 9.5, 8.7. And he's only and his assist to turnover ratio is at solid 2.1. Tim Hardaway's playing very well for him this year. Seth Curry's playing pretty well for him this year as well. But, I mean, it's a two-man show. You got Porzingis averaging 18 and 9. 18, 9, and 2 blocks per game. That's the big thing with Porzingis as well, is he also does it on the defensive end. But, yeah, Luka has absolutely balled out, is a strong MVP candidate, and the Dallas Mavericks are your third most surprising team, according to Simons 11. As we did with most disappointing teams and players, we've got 3 most surprising. And it's big men, chat. We're giving big men some love in an era where big men really don't get much love, right? My most surprising player this year, Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard is top 50 in player efficiency rating. He's 7th. Dwight Howard is 7th in defensive efficiency. It isn't the old Dwight Howard of the Magic, but it looks like he's lost a bunch of weight, and it looks like he has a will to want to win. He plays less than 20 minutes per game. It's not much. It's like 19.6 minutes per game. So basically 20 minutes per game. He's 26th in rebounds, tied for 18th in blocks per game, and has 8 double-doubles. Hell, the man is even shooting 74% from the free throw line. Dwight Howard is a great fit and is my number 1 most surprising player in the first half of 2019-2020. Told you, big men get love here. Big men get love here. Jeez. Number 2 is Hassan Whiteside. My apologies, Hassan Whiteside. If you're in chat right now, my apologies. Hassan Whiteside is 10th in the NBA in player efficiency. He leads the NBA in blocks per game, and he's 3rd in the NBA in rebounds. 10th in per, leads the NBA in blocks per game, 3rd in the NBA in rebounds per game, and he does all of this in 31 minutes per game. When I said he was a good fit for Portland, I wasn't lying, chat. He's even scoring the ball. He's averaging 15.7 points per game, and he's shooting a ridiculous 62% from the field. Again, he's not a three-point shooter, so that's going to be skewed a little bit. Miami didn't even use this guy. Miami didn't even want this guy. Miami did whatever it could to get out of that contract. Well, you know what? That contract actually looked pretty damn good for Portland. He's an absolute steal for Portland, and he's my second most surprising player in the NBA this year. My third and final most surprising player. We all know he's had talent for years. He's never really showed it. There was always debates about if he's actually really good or not while he was on the Los Angeles Lakers. We're talking Brandon Ingram. Again, we all knew that he had talent. It was out there. Like, he showed glimpses of it, right? He has been hurt a little bit this year as well. But he ranks 13th in points per game, top 50 in rebounds and assists, and he's 35th in per. His points per game at 25 is up from 18 last year. His 6.4 rebounds is up from 5.1 last year. He's shooting 40% from 3, which is up 7 freaking percent from last year. And his assists per game at 4.2 is up 3 assists per game from last year. He's playing the same amount of minutes as he has the last couple of years. He's finally shown that he can be a number 1A on a team. I don't think he can be the guy, but with Zion Williamson being the guy, and he can play 1A, play a little bit of Robin, but also some of Batman, I think he's a perfect fit. With Jrue Holiday, I think this team has 3 key pieces in Ingram, Zion, and Jrue Holiday. But Brandon Ingram is my third most surprising player. Again, we knew he had talent, so it's kind of like Ben Simmons. You might be able to argue this one because we knew he had talent, but he has absolutely exploded. Top 3 most surprising teams: Raptors, Thunder, Mavs. Top 3 most surprising players: Dwight Howard, Hassan Whiteside, and Brandon Ingram. Yo, Sony, we're talking basketball today, my dude. We're talking basketball today. Football is over, so we're going to be talking basketball and baseball. Basketball and baseball for the next handful of weeks here. All right, Chet. I don't know if you know anything about basketball either. I know basketball is bigger across the pond and stuff than football is. All right, chat. The last thing I want to talk about. Again, if you have anybody that you have as one of your biggest surprises, team or player, let us know. If you got an argument with one of mine, I'll take it. Any one of the 3 players could probably be argued, right? At this point. I mean, there's a lot of surprising players, but I gave love to the big guys. The last thing that I have for the show here, I know we got about 10 minutes left as well here, and we got about 10 minutes left. That is my, again, quote unquote, mid-season NBA awards. I'm going to start with Coach of the Year. I think there's 3 very, very clear-cut candidates for Coach of the Year. I think it's obvious who should win it. And I think it goes hand in hand with my most surprising team. And that's Nick Nurse. What Nick Nurse is doing in Toronto, right? Everybody thought it was Kawhi Leonard last year. It might be Nick Nurse is just one hell of a coach. I have Billy Donovan second because, again, Oklahoma City got rid of everyone and somehow is just as good, if not a little bit better. And then my third Coach of the Year candidate is Eric Spoelstra from Miami. Putting those pieces together, Jimmy Butler has worked out perfectly for him. But again, I think it's Nick Nurse's to lose. I don't really see a way that Nick Nurse gets caught at this point unless Toronto just free falls. But if Toronto ends up with the top 3 seed, if Boston somehow goes in front of them, I don't see a way that Nick Nurse doesn't get Coach of the Year. Sorry, grab a little bit of water. Most improved player. We just talked about him. I'm going Brandon Ingram. Again, we run over all of his stats. We went over all of that. I believe Brandon Ingram is the most improved player. He did show glimpses, but what he's doing this year, again, up 8 points. Up almost 2 rebounds. Up 3 full assists. He's 35th, so top 50 in per. Not to mention he's shooting 7% better from 3, from 33 to 40. He worked on his game, and at 6'7", 190, he's only 22 years old, chat. That's the crazy part. A lot of people don't realize this. He's only 22 years old. He got out of LA, and it's allowed him to blossom. I think it's his award to lose, but I think close behind him are Jaylen Brown from Boston, and then Bam Adebayo from the Heat. Both of them have put up better than numbers. Jaylen Brown has had a very, very solid year. Again, we knew he had talent, but he hasn't really figured it out till now. And then Bam Adebayo is just having one of those years. He's that glue. He's that glue guy, and across the board, everything's better. I don't see them catching Brandon Ingram. Sixth man of the year. Again, I've given about 3 candidates. I gave 3 candidates for each one. I don't really think this one's going to be close either. I think you're going to see Montrezl Harrell walk away with this. Montrezl Harrell at 18.7 and 7 per game in only 28 minutes. I think he's going to walk away with this one. Dennis Schroeder is averaging 19.2, 4 and 4 in 31 minutes for Oklahoma City. I think he's going to be I think he's going to be second, but I think it's going to be decent behind Harrell. And then third, I've got Derrick Rose. The problem with Derrick Rose is he started 10 out of the 45 games that he's played this year, so he started a lot more than the other two. However, that's still considered, in my mind, a sixth man. He's averaging 18, 2, and 6 in 26 minutes. Rookie of the year, I'm sorry, guys, I don't even have 3 here. It's a 2-horse race. I think because he's missed so much time, Zion is not going to have enough chance to catch Ja Morant. But Ja Morant's got to win it. Ja Morant's going to win it. Unless Zion does the next 30 games Zion has, if he somehow gets him into the playoffs over Ja and over Memphis, I can see that. But for a full season, Ja Morant is special. We knew coming into the year that it was a 2-player race, right? And once he got to number 3, it kind of dropped off hill. This NBA season has shown that perfectly. It's a 2-horse race, and Zion's even missed half the year, and he's somehow still in this race. Defensive Player of the Year. I've got Giannis. Giannis was runner-up last year. I think this is the year he gets it. When you look at defensive efficiency ratings, some advanced statistics for you all, Giannis is 3 full points ahead of second place, who's Brook Lopez. Not to mention, Giannis is the only player that somehow shut Zion Williamson down. And if that wasn't enough, Giannis Antetokounmpo is a top 3 defensive rebounder in the NBA, and he's a rim protector. I have Giannis as my defensive player of the year. Second, and I think pretty close second. I don't think this is going to be a runaway like I do the other ones. I think all the other ones will be runaways. Very close second, I have Anthony Davis. Another versatile big, same as Giannis. He gets it done rebounding and blocking shots. And he's also 4th in the NBA in defensive efficiency rating. And this is where I struggled for the third, right? I think the top 2 are pretty easy. Just like last year, I think the top 2 were pretty easy with Gobert and Giannis. I went, maybe it's a little bit biased, but I couldn't decide between Brook Lopez or Hassan Whiteside. Right? Hassan Whiteside, like I said, was top 10, was 10th in defensive efficiency, leads the NBA in blocks, was 3rd in rebounds. I'm not a big rebound guy, and when it comes to that, however, Brook Lopez is a block machine as well. He also owns the 2nd best defensive efficiency rating, and he's 2.5 points higher than Dante DiVincenzo, who's in 3rd place. The only person he's behind is Giannis, who I have winning the award. And that's where I think he took over Whiteside. But if you want to put Whiteside or Rudy Gobert as number 3, I'm cool with that. However, I think it's a 2-person race with Giannis and Anthony Davis. But yeah, if you want to third, I think is pretty. I have a little bias with Brook Lopez, but yeah, Lopez, Whiteside, Gobert, I'd take any one of the 3, but it's a 2-horse race, chat. It's a 2-horse race. The final award that I have, and that the NBA has, is MVP. I listed 3, chat. I listed 3 MVP candidates. It doesn't matter. It is absolutely Giannis's to lose. Giannis is about to break the player efficiency record for the NBA. He's about to have the 3rd highest points per 36 minutes in NBA history. And, well, not to mention, he's also probably the best defensive player in the NBA. I know defense really doesn't go into MVP. It's normally an offensive statistic. Whoa. Nice talk, Corey. It's normally an offensive statistic. Well, guess what? There really isn't a better offensive player in the NBA than Giannis Antetokounmpo either. Yeah, I know James Harden puts up a lot of points, but as far as efficiency, Giannis is better. As far as points per 36 minutes, Giannis is better. Not to mention, again, I throw in the defense. I know a lot of people don't, but I have Giannis winning both the MVP and the Defensive Player of the Year this year. Second, I've got Luka. And third, I've got Anthony Davis. So I literally have 2 people. So my first and third MVP ladder is also my first and second defensive player. But I myself value defense as an all-around player, which is why I think guys like Devin Booker and Bradley Beal and these guys are super overrated because they're so terribly defensively that they really do nothing to help their teams. It's basically a wash. Yeah, you can score points, but when your guys getting points on the other end, what the hell's the score? You go down there and score 2 points, they come down and score 2 points. What's that do for your team? Absolutely nothing. It's 2-2. It'd be the same as if you weren't there and it was 0-0. So I've got Giannis, clear favorite. Don't see any way he gets caught this year. Luka and Anthony Davis as my top 3 MVP. Chat, that's everything that I've got.